From the outside, everything seemed amazing. Former beauty queen and cheerleader Lindsay Shiver married her college sweetheart, Robert Shiver. He was a football player at Auburn and came from a family with lots of wealth. Life was good. The good-looking young couple had 3 boys and lived in a $2.5 million home in Thomasville, Georgia. They flew on his family's private jet and had a vacation home in the Bahamas. And that's where this story turns bad. Lindsay allegedly had an affair with a younger man who lived on the islands. Robert found out about it and filed for divorce. Things got nasty, and that's where this story turns really bad. Lindsay, along with her Bahamian boyfriend, are accused of soliciting a hitman to kill Robert. Lindsay and the other 2 men connected to the alleged murder plot are now out on bond in the Bahamas. And tonight, we take a closer look at what led up to this alleged plot, including the body cam video from when police were called in Georgia as things were turning nasty, as we take a closer look at a Georgia mom accused in a Bahamian love triangle murder plot.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us as we continue our coverage of this case involving Georgia and the Bahamas. So let's back up. How does this whole thing begin? Arguably, the whole thing begins with Lindsay Shiver as a cheating wife, or an alleged cheating wife. Those are the allegations. Now, I know, for relationships, sometimes the cheating is a symptom of something else that's wrong in the relationship, or wrong with one or both of the people who are together. But in this case, it seems from most reporting that it was this alleged affair that then led to her husband, Robert, filing for divorce. So it really, you think about how this begins and why it all begins, apparently and allegedly is because of Lindsay Shiver stepping out on her man in the Bahamas with a younger man down there and beginning this affair. Now, let's talk about why this is a story now. It's because of what happened in the Bahamas, this Bahama love triangle plot. Apparently, she's having an affair with the man in the middle, and then together with him, now that the divorce proceedings are underway, and it's getting bitter and it's getting difficult, they solicit the third man, the one with the green eyes, to kill him. And the allegations are that she sent one of those WhatsApp messages, had a photo of her husband with something to the effect of, kill him, okay? We hear that the defense may be that it was all some sort of a joke and taken out of context. And the way investigators came across it was they were investigating something else and had the cell phone and came across those messages. And their investigation into a burglary became something much, much different. Now, it goes without saying that the breakup between Lindsay and Robert, it was bitter. It was extremely bitter. And was it because she was cheating? What else is going on in the relationship? We don't necessarily know all those details, but we know this was not one of those, oh, you know what? We just agreed that we're just not good for each other. It wasn't like that. There was going to be a fight over money. There was going to be a fight over the children, etc. This was one of the bitter ones. Now, to try to understand what's going on here, because all of this relates to the alleged motive in the case, right? You're talking about soliciting someone to commit murder. Why would you do it? Well, it's all clearly got to be connected to this breakup and what was happening. And we have some body cam video now from Georgia of the couple, and then another one of Lindsay and her in-laws. 2 incidents in Georgia so far where we know police were called and police responded to try to understand, as we watch this, what exactly is going on here, because allegations are flying from both sides in all of this, and we know how ugly things can get. So let's give you a little flavor. Should we bring in our guest first? Okay. Joining us tonight, folks, she's going to help us with all this. In Alexandria, Virginia, author of the New York Times best-selling book, You Can't Lie to Me, body language expert Janine Driver is with us. Janine, great to see you tonight.
Nice to see you, Vinny.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of this body cam video. We'll begin with Lindsay Shiver. This is April 30th of this year. So this is, you know, close to the time of the initial breakup and things are kind of raw. But she's making some allegations. Police respond. Let's take a look.
Meant to meet with me, Lindsay Shiver?
Yeah.
Okay. My in-laws are in the parking lot right there, in the white Lexus.
Yeah.
I've tried to call them. This is my attorney on the phone, and have not been able to get a hold of them. But that's what I was calling for, was for y'all to come meet with me, because I'm trying to meet up with my husband right now.
Okay.
So I'm just glad they can see
Yeah.
the
So
whole
what?
spectacle that this is becoming.
So what are y'all trying to do? Custody?
46 Thomas. I'm relocating to the compliance location at BP West.
In the divorce. He just had my kids with my family all weekend, and I respected that. I didn't go up there with my family. On the way back this morning, they were in Wiggum 20, 30 minutes ago.
23
They were
Thomas.
headed home, and then I get the message that he's dropping them with his parents, who have no rights.
Okay.
So as a witness for me, that's why I called y'all, to meet me at his parents' house.
You call?
I called. I was the first one to call.
I asked who my complainant was, and they said the white Lexus. And then.
No, I called first
Okay.
this morning, and then I've been on the phone with the attorney and trying to dial them to ask them where the kids were and where they were meeting them, so that I could call y'all to let you know. Because I told you it was when I called this morning.
Okay. Who'd you speak to this morning?
So no harassment.
So do they have your kids? Or you don't know?
I don't think they do, because I just saw my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and father-in-law in the car.
Josh,
Okay. So you think your
Husband has them,
husband still has them, but he
won't answer.
So, Janine, when we first looked at this, all of us are like, she seems like she's under control. We're having a hard time reading what's going on with her, because she seems relatively matter of fact for someone to call police in the middle of this bitter breakup. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
There's a lot going on. First of all, incredibly confident she's coming along, so I can see how people could watch this and be a little bit confused because she's so confident. But here's the deal. If you look closely enough and you know what to look for, you can see signs of stress here. Her legs are crossed right here, so she's closed. But the interesting thing is she's blading her body to us. Usually when someone has something to hide, they blade their body away. However, if you look at her hair, so the higher that touch goes, the higher anxiety. Her tongue protrusion comes out right here. Tongue protrusions are deep concentration, or I think I'm getting away with something. So I find that interesting. Her lips disappear, Vinny, and you at home. I like to say when we don't like what we see or hear, our lips disappear. So if I said, Vinny, I'm happy to be here back tonight with your show, my lips disappear. Try it at home. You feel what it feels like. She took a step back here as well. So this is what's called psychological distancing. So if I'm up front right here and I'm arguing with my ex-husband and I take a step back, that's psychological distancing. And so when psychological distancing comes into play is when bad things happen. Law enforcement, Vinny, will often pull someone over on the side of the road, say the highway. Someone takes it, they're fighting, it's not like this. You don't know what you're talking about. They take a step back. Cops get ready to chase the person, but they come back and punch him in the face. Psychological distancing. I wouldn't hurt you, Vinny. I wouldn't hurt my ex-husband, but I take a step back. It's no longer the mother of Angus, Charlie, and Jack. It's a psychological distancing. So there are signs here of stress, which makes sense. However, this combination of overly confident, if you think about some of the powerful liars, the Jodi Ariases of the world, the Casey Anthonys of the world, when we have a position of power, you're attractive, you have money, you have a position of prestige, what happens in the moment of deception and when we are trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes, we focus on the rewards, not the consequences. Our cortisol goes down, we get off on it, and our ability to have cognitive thinking goes up. Casey Anthony telling law enforcement she worked at Universal Studios. and then going all the way to getting to Universal Studios before she comes clean she doesn't work there. Why? When one answer doesn't work, the other one comes with another one and another one. That's called cognitive thinking. By the way, if your kids are listening, turn it off, because I want to tell you, we're all powerful liars. If you tell your kids there's the Santa Claus, and they go, but we can't go to Grandma and Poppy's, they don't have a fireplace. What happens? You focus on the rewards, you slap a smile on your face, and no matter what answer you say, if your kid doesn't believe you, you come up with another answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna unlock the back door and let Santa in. Don't tell Grandma and Poppy.
Exactly. That's what you would do in that situation. All right, now I've got more body cam video to show you. Now this is from July 16th of this year, much closer to the time that this plot is allegedly uncovered down in the Bahamas. They're at their $2.5 million home, and there's a little argument between Lindsay and Robert involving the kids. Let's first take a look at Lindsay.
I woke up this morning, we have travel plans to leave, and he's insisting that I don't go.
Okay.
And then I have my keys. He moves me out of the way, starts trying to unload my car, tells me he owns the car, he owns the rights to it. Just got super aggressive, and that's when I called immediately, because he's been physical before, and I'm just not doing that.
That's one of the statements I'm really interested in. He's been physical before. To me, that's like the allegation. I'm a victim of domestic violence. This is what he does to me. What are you seeing and hearing here from Lindsay Shiver, Janine?
I think probably like you, Vinny, I'm transported back to Jodi Arias, setting up this whole scenario as well with Travis Alexander, her ex-boyfriend, saying, you know, she recorded all these calls. He wanted me to do sexual things that were inappropriate. You know, they told me if the people who broke in, they told me if I told, they'd come after me and my family. We don't believe that. There's blood spatter on the wall. Jodi Arias comes up with another answer, right? So what happens here with this particular statement, she's offering evidence before it's asked. And this is very suspicious. You know, I say, hey, did you see my, cousin Mike recently? And someone goes, no, I haven't seen Mike, and I haven't done smoked marijuana with Mike in years. Well, why are you telling me you haven't smoked marijuana with Mike in years? Right? That's offering evidence before it's asked. This here, I think, is a potential liar. And this is what happens. These people of power, incredibly confident. Her body language is facing us. She's blading us. Her crutch, though, Vinny, is that cell phone in her right hand. Her hand gesture, this is usually someone being honest. This will be a video I show as the anomaly to when people show their palms, the number one move people do when they're telling us the truth. This will show that it's not always the case.
You know, based upon everything you just told us, let's take another look at this video with some of the knowledge you just gave us and look at it in a different light. Let's roll that one more time.
I woke up this morning, we have travel plans to leave, and he's insisting that I don't go.
Okay.
And then I have my keys. He moves me out of the way, starts trying to unload my car, tells me he owns the car, he owns the rights to it. Just got super aggressive, and that's when I called immediately, because he's been physical before, and I'm just not doing that.
Interesting way to look at it. Go ahead.
And she says, I'm just not doing that. These are what are called start-stop sentences. And we talked about this with the Gwyneth Paltrow case, where she was being sued about potentially hitting someone on a ski slope, and she was found to be telling the truth, and he was found to be lying. Well, here's the deal. When we have a start-stop sentence, it is like a scar on our skin. I was in a car accident at 16, and my knee got cut open. I have a V scar on my left knee. A scar is what, Vinny? It is a bump in our skin. Why? Because something has been removed. Two other pieces of skin are now stitched together. When you hear a start-stop sentence, something has been removed, and they're trying to thread something together, so you notice the bump, or what we would call a verbal scar.
Let's get to our final piece of video. Now we're going to switch to her husband, Robert Shiver. This is from that same day, July 16th. Let's watch.
So for the last 3 weeks, maybe longer, she's had her couples trip planned with her boyfriend to go to Key West.
Okay, but she just said you're going.
So that was to Key West. I'm taking my kids, my 3 boys, to the Bahamas. This is
Our kids.
Our kids. Yesterday, she sent a message saying that she's going to change her plans and now get on the airplane with me and the kids to go to the Bahamas.
But I am too,
And
by
when
the
we
way.
land, she's going to go to her boyfriend.
Elsewhere.
And me and the kids are going to our house. And I told her I'm not supporting that. And you're not getting on the airplane. That can mess with the kids' heads. And it's just something we're not going to do.
All right. What do you think of Robert? I know the distance is a little bit. You can't see a lot, but you do see his whole body.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, it's actually pretty interesting because if you look at his left leg is slightly in front of the front, but his knee is like bent in. This is uncomfortable body language. And if you look at his right hand, I teach, if you're on the shorter side, to take up space. If you think of President Washington on the boat, that very famous picture where Washington's on the boat. When we have height or we take up space, we're seen as confident and powerful. So here on his top part, he's taking up space with that hand on the truck in his bag, but the bottom is getting very small right here. But he's got his open right here. His power zones are open, his center of his body. I think he's coming across as pretty confident. I think the name of like my kids is interesting. My is ownership, and she's like our kids. So she's chiming in. She's got one hand on the hip. When we see one hand on the hip, that's considered attitude. So I want you to imagine if I said, Vinny, can I talk to you a second in my office? Versus, Vinny, can I talk to you for a second in my office? It's off balance here. He's off balance, she's off balance, body language. We see conflict here. Even though there's no screaming out, things are rolling. We can see these two are not on the same page.
The last few words we didn't pick up. We had a slight problem with your signal there, Janine, but I think we got the gist of it. And there you see in the back, she's got the hand on the hip as the officer is trying to speak to this couple who clearly, from their body language, don't want anything to do with each other, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And body language at the very end, she mirrors him because she can see him, but he can't see her.
We're still having those problems, Janine.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. Janine Driver joining us from Alexandria. Storm's coming through. You know what happens, folks. All right. We've got a lot more to get to on this story. We're going to bring in some more experts to take a look at the psychiatry of everything that's happening in this story and with this couple, plus coming up next hour.
In Dedham, Massachusetts, Karen Reed accused of running over her police officer boyfriend and leaving him to die in the snow. She says she's innocent and the victim of a police cover-up. And some of her supporters have been very vocal at the courthouse and online. And the DA is furious.
I'm asking the kids and community and everyone who feels invested in this case to hear all the actual evidence at trial before assigning guilt to people who have done nothing wrong. We try people in the court and not on the internet for a reason.
A victim with celebrity ties from Stormy Daniels to once being engaged to Drew Carey.
Now her alleged killer faces a jury.
The Hollywood Obsession murder trial. Coverage begins Tuesday at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Can keep my life straight. They were killed by their own children.
Court TV Legendary Trials. Go to courttv.com/legendary trials to find out how to watch.
She's following you or you feel like she's threatening you in any way, from moving forward, you can call 911 again. With what we have right now, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do. Okay? This whole thing's been documented and recorded, so you ain't got to worry about that. Okay? We just don't have nothing.
That is the mother-in-law of Lindsay Shiver, Robert's mother, telling police that she's dangerous. Now, this is before this plot, this alleged plot to murder her son is uncovered by officials down in the Bahamas, but interesting insight into everything that was happening there. Let's bring in our guests who are joining us tonight. Why don't we begin with Dr. in Orlando, Florida, hopefully not in the path of this storm, psychotherapist and CEO of Life Counseling Solutions, Dr. Janie Lacey. In Miami, Florida, criminologist and author and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman is with us. And in Los Angeles, California, forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, and columnist Dr. Carol Lieberman. Great to see everyone tonight. Dr. Janie Lacey, let me start with you here. Is there such thing as mother-in-law's intuition?
Well, and I think when we look at the family system in general, if we look at this mother-in-law and her relationship that she had with her daughter-in-law, and if we probably trace it back, I do believe that mothers do have an intuitive nature when it comes to the women that their sons bring home. But the dynamics that has ensued in this family from the time that they got married and on will take into account the mother-in-law's opinion.
Yeah, Dr. Carol Lieberman, I look at this situation. It's always difficult when there's a breakup, much more difficult when there's 3 children. And then it's like pouring gasoline on it when it is apparently caused by the infidelity of one of the parents.
Yes, he says, I don't want you to get on the plane because I don't want you to mess with the kids' heads. Well, I venture to say that the kids' heads have been messed with long before this. I mean, they have clearly, the 2 of them are living in the same home with the kids, and clearly the kids are hearing these fights and so on, and they know what's going on. Kids really do understand more than adults' parents give them credit for, and they have been through a lot.
Let's take a listen to more from Lindsay's mother-in-law here. This, again, is April 30th, so this is a couple of months before all this sort of unravels. Here she is on the body cam video.
She's delusional, and we know that. And her mom and husband, myself, we're all like, you've got to go get some help. You've got to go get some help. You're mental. And she denies it. And then she left the kids this week and went down to the Bahamas. She could have gotten hold of some drugs down there that everybody thinks she's definitely on, but we can't prove it unless we get a hair sample. So if we could get a hair sample and y'all send it off, or if she could get checked out by a doctor right now, they might can find out more that she's been doing these last 4 days in the Bahamas by herself.
All right, and Dr. Debbie Goodman, it's down in the Bahamas where this alleged plot is hatched. Again, it's alleged. The defense seemingly is saying that it was all sort of a joke, but it does seem like it was the stress of what was happening in Georgia that caused this alleged plot to hatch down in the Bahamas.
Absolutely. Good evening, Vinny. Pleasure to join you. For me, there's just no joke about crime. This type of crime in this category, Vinny, we remind the viewers, this is called familicide. This is when a family member wants to do harm to a family member. And then if we really want to get specific, we have our own categories here of mariticide. That's when a wife wants to kill a husband. The flip side with the husband, uxoricide, husband wanting to kill wife. So for me, if I'm teaching this in class as a professor and I remove the Shiver name and I just use party A, B, and C, A and B, husband and wife, now we introduce a party C, an individual with whom one or the other is having an affair. There is actual planning and premeditation and purpose to all of this. So I don't discount this at all as a joke. I think this is what she wanted to happen. We've got co-defendants. It's astonishing to me when individuals think they'll get away with it, but that's my opinion at the moment as a criminologist, that she wanted her husband killed so that she could lead this new and exciting and vibrant life with this party C.
Dr. Janie Lacey, what are your thoughts here? She talks about, well, she's delusional. She left the kids, went down to the Bahamas, left the kids for a week. 3 young boys, by the way. Also suspicions that she's on drugs. Are these, what do you make of that, of the delusional behavior? Could you have a mental breakdown in conjunction with drugs? Would drugs make you look like you're having it? Or is all of this just the heat of the moment in interpreting someone's activities?
Well, based off of what we know, we do know that when women in particular have affairs, their behavior can become irrational, it can become self-focused, and they can do a lot of things. It's almost like we hear these terms, right, in the most basic way, drunk with love. So when she is probably doing her affair, doing all the things. She becomes so self-focused, and those around her, those around the person that's having an affair, notice the changes. But sometimes we're trying to explain these particular changes. So it could be, right, in her, I don't know that to be true, but we do know that when people are venturing out and doing things they normally would not do, that they become more open. So perhaps, you know, she's more open to doing drugs. She's more open to doing things with her lover that she may not have done in her primary family. So all of that is very possible. But when we look at the people who are closest to her, they would notice a change. And what I hear is them trying to make sense out of her behavior.
Well, let's take a look here at what she now says about her in-laws and her estranged husband. She seems to be pointing the finger right back at them. Let's watch.
They were saying that you were following them, obviously, and that you got a gun, which isn't illegal. It doesn't
No, I don't, though.
It doesn't matter, though.
But I don't.
And
Oh my God.
yeah, so she,
You're welcome to
mother-in-law,
search my car.
something is, she's freaking out apparently,
She's
but
hypomanic.
but-
She's a mental issue. All
Yeah.
three of the people in the car have a mental issue. Diagnosed.
yeah,
They don't need my kids.
yeah, they're saying the same thing. They're saying you got a mental issue. and
Tango Golf, Mike 5139, TGM 5139, white color Hyundai SUV.
That's none of our business. All I'm saying is that's the call we got. That's why we
But
showed
these are
up.
my kids
Yeah.
that they don't have a right to.
Yeah.
Can I try to call my husband with you right here?
Yeah, you can. But all this, see, that's the issue with us. I mean, you're on the phone with your lawyer, which is the way you need to take it, because I can't do anything about.
But she told me that they have no rights to my kids, so y'all would have interfered on that behalf and said they need to go with their mom.
Right, but they're not with her.
Because my husband's playing hooky around.
Okay, Dr. Carol Lieberman, she's accusing everyone in that car, which is her sister-in-law, her mother-in-law, her father-in-law, of being hypermanic, and they're the ones that have the mental issues. What are your thoughts about that conversation and that response?
She's calling them crazy. They're calling her crazy. I mean, one interesting part of that, though, is if it's true that the mother-in-law is saying that her mother is even saying that she's mental. So it's strange that her mother, if it's true, would be on the side of the in-laws. So that does kind of give one pause. But, you know, to sort of boil it down, it seems like the husband, his ego has been bruised, wounded by her having this affair. And she actually is a woman scorned because, according to some reports, the pictures that she sent to her boyfriend to send to the hitman, you know, to say kill him, are pictures of her husband that were taken in the bar, in the same Grabber's bar, next to a blonde woman. Now, it isn't necessarily that was a date, but he's looking very cozy with this blonde woman, who he may well have met just for the first time. And so that was part of why she was so angry, not just because of the things that were going on in the divorce.
And it gets right back to it, Dr. Debbie Goodman, jealousy, back and forth. And the real problem with all of this is that there's 3 young children in the middle of all of it, and you know, you're not having a reasonable back and forth between these parents, and now it's a criminal case.
Absolutely, Vinny. An acronym that I created, JAR, Jealousy, Anger, Revenge, I think absolutely is appropriate in this case. There are elements here on her part, but also the aspect of the children. You know, again, this is what is just so absolutely just vicious and violent when people almost dismiss their children as human beings, and now rather people become obstacles or impediments. So I think in totality, her concern was very much about herself. Again, characteristics of being narcissistic, being grandiose, and also hedonistic. Her pleasure now was going to be with this boyfriend and just leave behind the life and lifestyle, of course, with the husband and potentially with the children.
Yeah, and maybe heading down to the hedonism retreat down there in the islands. Some people may know what that is. Unbelievable story. Dr. Janie Lacey, Dr. Debbie Goodman, Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you all so much. All right. When we come back, we'll take a look at this divorce and custody battle from a legal perspective. Like, what would she have gotten if she didn't allegedly try to have her husband killed?
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Can keep my life straight.
That demanded our attention.
They were killed by their own children.
That challenged the legal system and ourselves.
How in the world can a mother wait 30 days before reporting her child missing?
These are the trials that became legendary. And now you can relive them all in one place. Court TV Legendary Trials. Go to courttv.com/legendary trials to find out how to watch.
This location of BP West.
In the divorce. I just had my kids with my family all weekend, and I respected that. I didn't go up there with my family. On the way back this morning, they were in Wiggum 20, 30 minutes ago. They were headed home, and then I get the message that he's dropping them with his parents, who have no right.
Interesting. You got Lindsay Shiver upset, allegedly calling police, although the in-laws said they called police too, because her husband dropped their kids with his parents, and she says, no, they have no rights to those kids. Those are my kids. Why are the grandparents? Why are they looking at the kids? Interesting, a lot of legal issues here. Let's bring in my guest in New York City, managing partner at matrimonial law firm Berkman, Botker, Newman & Shine, family law attorney Jacqueline Newman. Great to see you, Jacqueline. What about that? I mean, obviously they're beginning the divorce process, but how does that work, right? You've got the children, and your estranged husband allegedly was going to drop them off with his parents.
Right, so he was dropping them off with his parents because she's in an unfit stage, I would say, at this point. I mean, you know, somebody who is accused of trying to kill the father of these children really isn't in a place to be taking care of them. So I think really what's going on is he's trying to keep them safe. He's trying to keep them out of the media. He's trying to keep them, you know, as regulated as possible, which is what a responsible parent does.
Well, I do think, though, this is just before the plot was uncovered. So she might be thinking about it, but I don't think it was general knowledge yet. Let's take a look at this, because this is Robert Shiver here talking about a trip to the Bahamas, and again brings up another issue about people going through what these two were going through. Let's watch.
Okay, so what's going on this morning?
So for the last 3 weeks, maybe longer, she's had her couples trip planned with her boyfriend to go to Key West.
Okay, but she just said you're going.
That was to Key West. I'm taking my kids, my 3 boys, to the Bahamas.
Our kids.
Our kids. Yesterday, she sent a message saying that she's going to change her plans and now get on the airplane with me and the kids to go to the Bahamas.
But I own too,
and
by
when
the way.
we land, she's going to go to her boyfriend.
Elsewhere.
And me and the kids are going to our house. And I told her I'm not supporting that. And you're not getting on the airplane. That can mess with the kids' heads. And it's just something we're not going to do. Well, I own 50% of an airplane. She, on paper, owns 25 of that. And majority owner, the other 50% owner, and myself are both in agreement to not have her on the airplane. So 75% says we don't want you on the plane.
All right, well, so they have a private family plane, and apparently the way he's describing it, he's got 75% on paper, she's got 25%. She's trying to hitch a ride to get down to the Bahamas, to be with her boyfriend. What rights does she or doesn't she have? How do you resolve things like this?
I mean, in a normal circumstance, you wouldn't want to have the children, you know, in a situation where you've got mom and dad fighting on the plane or anywhere else for that matter. Obviously, they're continuing to live together, so these poor children are being subjected to this, I'm sure, all the time. Does he have a right to tell her not to get on the plane? Yeah, I think he probably does. And it sounds as if he was really planning to take this vacation with the children, and she, as you said, was kind of just hitching a ride to go meet her boyfriend. This wasn't the family trip that I assume that they originally planned it to be, considering she was going to be leaving them anyway. So I think he's within his right to say, I'm taking the kids. This was a planned trip for me to be with the children. And I would like to think if they have attorneys that are working with them, they're working out a parenting plan where maybe she would be spending some time with the children. Obviously, maybe not at this point, but at that point, I'd like to think that maybe that was what was planned.
Well, let me ask you about this point. What happens now, right? If she's in a Bahamian jail, or not yet, she's not allowed to leave the Bahamas at this point. She's presumed innocent, hasn't had her trial yet. What rights would there be now? Does he have to bring the kids down to the Bahamas to see their mama, or does he get to keep the kids in Georgia? How do things like that? This is very complicated.
It is very complicated. It's an excellent question. And again, I think they really are going to look at the best interest of the children. I mean, these children, obviously, I would think, love their mother. And so you want to have some element of continuity and have some element of them speaking to their mother, at least, because, you know, they're probably like, where's mom? On the other hand, if she really is in an unstable position, which sounds like she may be, having the children be with her unsupervised probably isn't the best move. So my guess is that they're facilitating some sort of FaceTime, some sort of Zoom. They're definitely going to maintain some element of contact with the children, just because otherwise I could see it being very damaging to them. But my guess is it's being supervised to make sure she doesn't say anything to them that could even make a bad situation worse.
Yep, great insight. And I hope everyone's listening to those magical words, right? Best interest of the children, always. Jacqueline Newman, thank you so much.